Welcome to Experience Builder. I'm Jianxia Song. With me are Alex Vazina and Emily Windle. Today we are going to focus on the latest features from the September update. 3 new widgets are added: Search, Edit, and Oriented Imagery. Let's take a close look. The Search widget comes with more options. We can use it with or without maps, or place it anywhere. Here it is alongside map. We may search a feature like a landmark in New York, or a location on the map. We can also search for features or locations on the other page like this one. Let's go back here. When I search a landmark in New York City, the list and map are filtered. You may wonder, how can we configure something like that? It is simple. On the search result, turn off the result panel, you will see the set link. Then click the buttons to set link to the page we want to jump to. We can add locator or feature layer as search sources, and trigger message actions. For instance, search a location triggered records created message, so the map will pan to it. The next demonstration from Alex is exciting. She's going to show editing versioned feature services, a capability now available on the web.
Yes, that's right. There is a new edit widget in Experience Builder. The new widget is currently in beta and will allow for basic editing tasks such as creating, updating, and deleting features and records with and without the use of a map. In my application here, I will be adding data to the water network to sketch options for a new service connection. Since the service in my web map supports branch versioning, I will use the branch version management widget to switch the version where I would like to make my edits. First, I will update the fitting device feature here from endcap to cross, so I can then attach a service line to it. When I select the fitting, you can see here multiple features were selected, and as I hover over the list, the feature is highlighted on the map until I select which one to edit. The attribute list here is divided into 2 groups of fields. These can be configured in the widget, which I'll demonstrate later. After updating the attributes for the fitting, I will now add features to create the new service connection. The snapping options are currently enabled in the widget. Self-snapping allows you to snap to the feature you're currently sketching and displays some smart guides, while feature snapping allows you to snap to other features. So here I'll add a service line, and you can see here how the line snaps to the fitting and the smart guides are available. And now I'll fill out some attributes. Next, I'll add a service valve along with the asset ID. And finally, the service connection. Since I made these edits in a version, if I switch back to the default version, they will disappear until a desktop user reconciles and posts the changes. So now this was a map-focused workflow, but the edit widget does not require a map to perform editing. I could make edits to features or records from other widgets. For example, here all the layers from my map were added to individual list widgets. These lists will also update based on the current versions of the data loaded in the application. If I select a record from the list, it is loaded into the edit widget, where I can update its attributes or delete it. The search widget here will also interact with the edit widget when I search for a feature. So let's take a look at the configuration for this widget. Experience Builder allows us to expose configurable parameters through the builder. Starting with one of the app templates, I will add a web map data source to the map widget and add the edit widget to a widget controller. I now have two options, attributes only or geometry with attributes. Geometry with attributes will support the map-focused workflow. I must select the map widget since this configuration supports creating new features with geometries. Next, I can import all the editable layers from the map, or single layers. The snapping settings that we saw earlier can be enabled or disabled here. Please note that currently snapping is a general setting. You cannot configure which individual layers to snap to. Each layer you've added has configurable options. I can update the layers display label shown in the list of editable templates. Under Capability, I can restrict if users can add and delete features or records, and update geometries. In the Configure Fields section, this is where I can create a form-like experience. First, I will select which fields to show in the list of attributes. Then I can create groups and group the fields to create the expendable experience we saw earlier, and drag and drop fields into each group. A description can be added to each group and field. It will be displayed in the form to help the user while editing the attributes. Let's turn on the live mode and see what my form looks like. Now going back to the configuration, if I select the Edit Attributes only, I am not prompted to select the Map widget or any other widget in that matter. Instead, I can directly select editable layers. The Edit widget will load the features selected through other widgets to allow editing them. Once adding the layers I want to edit, again I can configure the options for each one. For this configuration option, you will not be able to add new records or edit feature geometries. A user will only be able to update the attributes and optionally to delete records. The fields configuration is the same we just saw, with the ability to select the fields to show and edit, group fields, and provide descriptions. So here's a quick summary of what we just saw in the new Edit widget. You can choose between a map-focused or a data source-focused experience. Capabilities include creating, updating, and deleting features, editing feature geometries, sketching features using snapping, and configuring an attribute form with field groups. Happy editing!
Thanks, Alex. The next demonstration from Emily is Oriented Imagery.
Oriented Imagery is a platform-wide solution for managing, visualizing, and exploring images that aren't pointing straight down at the ground, what we call Oriented Imagery. This category includes oblique, street side, inspection, 360-degree, panoramic, and wide-angle images, and even video. The basic Oriented Imagery workflow is fairly simple. Once you've gathered your imagery, you'll need to manage it as an Oriented Imagery catalog. Once you've published the Oriented Imagery catalog to ArcGIS Online or ArcGIS Enterprise, it can then be loaded into a compatible client, like an Experience Builder app with the Oriented Imagery Widget, or you can click a point on the map to bring up images of that point in the Oriented Imagery viewer to explore. The Oriented Imagery Widget for ArcGIS Experience Builder lets users build and share an app for visualizing and exploiting oriented imageries in the context of a 2D map or 3D scene. They can fully customize their app for their organization and workflow and leverage the functionality of the full suite of Experience Builder widgets. And with that, let's take a look at the widget in action. Creating a basic Oriented Imagery app with Experience Builder is simple. Here, I'll start with the billboard template, which is a very simple template for showcasing a map. Once the template is loaded, I'll go ahead and add the Oriented Imagery widget at the top. In the widget configuration, I'll select the map and add an Oriented Imagery catalog. Here, I'm taking an Oriented Imagery catalog created using ArcGIS Quick Capture of iPhone photos of the Esri campus. Now I'll turn on Live View to show the widget in action. I'll activate the widget, and the green polygons that you'll see will show where we have coverage in our catalog. And I'm going to go ahead and turn that off so I can see the map a little better, and then I'll select a point. The Oriented Imagery Viewer will display the best image of that point, but I can also use the navigation tool to find other images of that point. And then I can also use tools to update brightness and contrast to enhance the image. Now let's take a look at a similar 3D app. I'll enable the 3D view by adding a web scene of the base map to the map widget. And then I'll add and configure the Oriented Imagery widget as I did before, selecting the map widget and adding the Oriented Imagery catalog. I'll go ahead and save and preview the app. And once it loads, I'll go ahead and activate the widget. When I select a point where there's coverage, it'll pull up a 360-degree image from our partner aerial sphere. You can see the 3D frustum visible in red on the map, and you'll see that it dynamically updates as I pan and zoom in the image. I can also switch to superimpose mode, where the image is overlaid directly in the 3D scene. Next, let's take a look at a 3D app featuring oblique aerial imagery of Vilnius, Lithuania, with a 3D mesh included in the web scene. You can see the coverage of my imagery if I toggle off the mesh. I'm going to go ahead and resize the Oriented Imagery Viewer and select a point on the map. Because the Oriented Imagery Catalog has an acquisition date field, the date selector is automatically available. If I select the 16th, the viewer will switch to the best image of the location I chose from that date. However, I'm interested in the 17th, so I'll go ahead and switch back. Now I can zoom in the image to view the road a little better. And if I tilt the scene a bit, you can see the zoomed in frustum, which will update as I scroll around in the image. So like I said, you can see the frustum updating on the map as I pan in the image. I'll select a different point near this building, and then I'll zoom in to better see the image in the viewer. And now I'll pull up the measurement tool. Because the Oriented Imagery Catalog has accuracy parameters included, I can measure the height of the building. Area and distance are enabled if the Oriented Imagery Catalog also references a depth image. Finally, here's the superimpose view again, where I can see the image overlaid directly onto the 3D mesh. I'll move the image all the way in front of the mesh, and you can see that it's overlaid relatively seamlessly. I'll go ahead and toggle the mesh off to better see where the image stops and the mesh starts. The last app I'm going to show you is for pipeline inspection. It's using a layout I customized with the Oriented Imagery widget docked in the top right and the bookmarks widget docked in the bottom right. I've added a web map to the map widget that has two feature classes, a pipeline centerline and an editable feature layer I can use to identify areas that need follow-up in the field. The bookmarks widget has been configured with a few key locations for inspection. And in the Oriented Imagery widget, I've added the map widget and an Oriented Imagery catalog of images from BAR Aerial Patrol taken along the pipeline. I'm also going to configure the widget so that the feature layers can be overlaid in the viewer and so users can add new features to the editable inspection layer. I'm going to save the app and launch a preview. In the app, I'll use the bookmarks to navigate to an inspection site. Once there, I'll select a point near the pipeline. In the image, I'll use the Overlays tool to view the centerline in the image to better orient myself. I'll zoom in to inspect the area near the pipeline. If I find a point of interest, I can add a feature in the viewer and update the attributes depending on how the pop-ups are configured in the web map. Here I can add a note to my new feature. And when I zoom in to the map, you can see the feature that I added in both the web map and in the Oriented Imagery viewer.
Thanks, Emily. In addition to new widgets, many existing widgets have been improved, such as filter. Now applying a filter, the map automatically zooms to the feature. This is because we add a new message on the filter called data filtering changes. With the query widget, now you can select features on the map from a layer, then using the relationship rule to perform a spatial query. You can also customize the results with specified fields. In addition to add a new survey record by passing data from the map to the survey, now you can do editing in existing survey as well. For example, here I'm going to update attributes in the geometry and submit update. Now you will see geometry has been updated. Now we can do another record as well. Keep in mind the feature layer on the map is the survey layer, which is available under the survey item details page. 2D and 3D integration is the DNA of Experience Builder. In addition to chart, list, map, now table supports scene layer as well. For example, when I search a building material by wood on the table, the map is updating. Also, when I select a chart, map is updating as well. Or vice versa, when we select buildings on the map, table, charts, and list are updating accordingly. Moreover, when we select a building on the list, map zooms to it. So now you have an interactive 3D dashboard. You can also do 3D editing. For example, here I'm going to add California palm tree in the result. Make the height a little bit bigger. Then add a new feature. Or I can do the update existing feature. Select the building, make the height to 10. Do updates as well. Next is the Flight Controller widget. We have added 2 new templates to showcase the capability. In this example, I pre-planned the route to rotate the museum or fly through. A list of major enhancements. I'd like to carve out the lazy loading on views. When this option is on, the content in the view loads only when we switch to it. This will help improve the app load time. Also, we add line and area charts in the chart widget.